What is going on, everybody? Want to welcome everyone into another episode of the Philly Faithful podcast. Here with your host, Troy Brock. You can find me on socials at Troy B Baseball. You can follow the show on socials at Philly Faith Pod. If you're listening on Spotify or iTunes, make sure you give us that 5-star rating so the show can be pushed out to more Phillies fans just like you. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you leave a like, leave a comment, and hit that subscribe button so you can be notified when another episode just like this one goes live. And it is a good episode. We are going to be taking a quick recap of Sunday's Game 2 victory of the Philadelphia Phillies, and then we will be talking a little bit about the Alec Bohm situation going on up there, and then we will also look ahead to the matchups for tonight's Game 3 in Queens with Aaron Nola and Sean Manaea on the mound for the Phillies and the Mets, respectively. But let's go ahead and jump in and recap Sunday's game. The Mets had a 3-0 lead through 5.5 innings. It took until the bottom of the 6th inning for the Phillies to realize that they were playing baseball in the postseason and that they needed to step it up and show up and do what everybody knows that they can do. And they finally did it. And it was magnificent. It was back-to-back home runs from Bryce Harper with Trey Turner on base and Nick Castellanos with a solo shot to tie the game at 3. And the bank was rocking. It was loud. It was back to the postseason home field environment that everybody knows it can and should be, and the number one home field environment in baseball. I don't care what anybody tells you, and that's not biased. That is fact. Mets took a 4-3 lead after that, and then the Phillies took another lead, took a 6-4 lead, and then the Mets came back to tie it. And in the bottom of the ninth, Nick Castellanos hit a walk-off single to secure the dub and take the series to Queens with a 1-1 tie. I actually saw a tweet from Sarah Lang just right before I jumped on to record this podcast that said this is the first time in the history of the divisional series that all 4 divisional series matchups have a 1-1 tie going into Game 3. And that is crazy. It has been a fantastic playoff so far across the board. And now that the Phillies offense has showed up, the pitching was there. And now that the offense has showed up, it's been even better for Philadelphia. Hopefully, Rob Thompson can get out of the way and the Phillies can bring this one home and move on to the championship series to face either the Padres or the Dodgers, and then go even further than that to face whoever is left in the American League in the World Series. But still a long way to go before that happens, and still a lot of Rob Thompson to get out of the way before that happens. And speaking of Rob Thompson getting out of the way, this Alec Bohm situation, man, it doesn't make any sense across the board. It's just absolutely insane to me, just what's going on with Alec Bohm and the sitting and then being subbed in just 2 at-bats later. And then now he's starting Game 3, and it's just, it doesn't make sense. Like we may not ever know. We may find out at some point in the offseason, but in my opinion, there has to be something going on behind the scenes that caused the benching, because with the way the offense, again, I said this it was either the preview of Game 2 or the instant reaction episode, but with the way the offense was playing in Game 1 and just not playing really, the way the offense was just taking bad at bats across the board, except for 1 or 2 guys here and there, why would you take out your better option at third base, who is still a good defender, to put in someone who is not as good of a hitter, but is a better defender? Like, it did not make any sense. And then Alec Bohm gets pinch hits for Edmundo Sosa after Sosa takes 2 plate appearances. Why? If you're going to bench the guy. Yes, I know he was available as a pinch hitter, but you didn't need a pinch hitter in the situation that he came in. And then he took even worse plate appearances in the 2 plate appearances in that game than he did in the 4 that he had in Game 1. And now he's going to be starting Game 3. Like, it was not to cause a jolt. It was not to cause a spark. It was not to do anything other than either A, Rob Thompson proving yet again that he is completely incompetent at doing his job and incapable of doing his job. Or B, like I said earlier, there is something going on behind the scenes that we currently do not know about and may never know about or may not find out about until way down the road when this is but a distant memory and people barely remember it. Because right now it makes absolutely zero sense. Just everything about it makes no sense whatsoever. And right now I'm going into it looking at it as, because of the body of history that we have been given over the past 2.5 years, I'm looking at it as Rob Thompson has no clue what he's doing, because that is the more likely outcome than something going on behind the scenes with Alec Bohm. Yes, Alec Bohm is an emotional player on the field, but he's still, even with the emotions that he shows on the field, he still seems like he is a professional when things come down to needing to be a professional. And I don't see Alec Bohm doing something behind the scenes that would cause that. And if it was something that happened behind the scenes that would cause that, it's more likely that he would not have been available to pitch hit at all, unless, of course, Rob Thompson may have said, "Oh yeah, he's available to pinch hit." But if it was something behind the scenes, he probably would not have pinch hit, and he most definitely would not have pinch hit in the middle of the game with 4 or 5 innings left to play and to go ahead and retake over third base. Like, it does not make sense. The whole situation is just crazy to me, and hopefully we will find out something at some point. And if we don't, it's just Rob Thompson yet again being incompetent, as he regularly is. So who knows? But today we have game 3, and yes, Alec Bohm is starting game 3 in Queens. First game on the road for the Phillies this postseason. It will be Aaron Nola at Sean Manaea. Same start time as the first 2 games, 4:08 p.m. Eastern. It's on FS1 again. It's a Tuesday. I don't know why it's not on Fox. I guess Fox has some kind of sitcom or something they'd rather play than get more views with baseball. But Sean Manaea in 2024 faced the Phillies 3 times. He pitched 16 2/3 innings in those 3 starts with a 5.40 ERA, so that's promising. 15 strikeouts, a 0.960 WHIP. So he really didn't allow a lot of base runners. It seems like it was just timely hitting from the Phillies that scored some runs. A 219, 242, 453 triple slash with a 696 OPS across 66 plate appearances for the Phillies and Sean Manaea in 2024. He's not the best pitcher. He's definitely not the guy he has been in the past. So the Phillies do have a really good opportunity to take a 2-1 lead, jump on Sean Manaea early and drive him out of the game early and get back into that bullpen, which is pretty weak, and wreak havoc. And if the offense can show up like they did in the last 4 innings of Sunday's game, then it's definitely a possibility that this game goes 2-1 in the Phillies' favor, with only 1 more win needed to move on to that championship series. But Phillies in their career, designated hitter Kyle Schwarber has gone 2 for 6 against Manaea with no strikeouts and 2 walks, a 333, 500, 833 triple slash. Trey Turner, 5 for 16 against Manaea, 4 strikeouts, no walks, a 313, 313, 500 triple slash. Bryce Harper, 4 for 11, 2 strikeouts, no walks, 364, 364, 818 triple slash. So the top 3 guys in the lineup, the guys that you really need to have on at the plate, have done really well against Manaea in their careers. Kyle Schwarber doesn't have as many plate appearances as Trey Turner or Bryce Harper against Manaea, but he's still done very well in the minimal amount of plate appearances that he has had. Alec Bohm starting third base, 2 for 10 against Manaea, 3 strikeouts, 200, 182, 500. Nick Castellanos, 6 for 16, 4 strikeouts, no walks, 375, 375, 1,000 slug against Manaea. He's had a lot of success against Manaea in his career. Edmundo Sosa, who I expect to start because Manaea is a left-hander. I expect Edmundo Sosa to start over Bryson Stott at second base. 4 for 8, 2 strikeouts, no walks, 500, 500, 1,250 slug against Manaea. Again, better than Alec Bohm. So if you're going to start Bryson Stott at second base over Edmundo Sosa, this would be the game to start Edmundo Sosa over Alec Bohm. But just because of history and track record, it's just I'm blown away by that decision. It's just crazy to me. Catching JT Realmuto, of course, 1 for 7, 4 strikeouts, 1 walk, 143, 250, 143 triple slash. I expect Austin Hayes to start in left field over Brandon Marsh, and he should, because Austin Hayes is the better hitter against left-handed pitching. And if you want to force Austin Hayes into that everyday role, then he needs to be in the everyday role, but only against left-handed pitching. 2 for 3 against Mania, no strikeouts, no walks, 667, 667, 1667 slug. And center fielder Johan Rojas, 0 for 5, 1 strikeout, no walks, and no zeros across the board for his triple slash. That is what I expect the lineup to be, not necessarily in that order, but that would be the lineup that makes the most sense against Mania. We do know Alec Bohm is starting. As far as I know, the lineup has not come out yet, so we're can't really speak on Edmundo Sosa or Austin Hayes starting over Bryson Stott and Brandon Marsh, respectively. If it were me, I would start those two over the other two because, again, you want your best right-handed hitting batters against the left-handed hitting pitchers because splits. But and then once they get into their bullpen, I don't think they have many left-handed options in their bullpen. So then you can bring in Brandon Marsh and Bryson Stott over the other two, because while Edmundo Sosa is a good fielder at second base, Bryson Stott is probably better, and Austin Hayes is not a good defender in left field, and Brandon Marsh is definitely better, and Austin Hayes cannot hit right-handed pitching. So stop trying to make Austin Hayes happen. Aaron Nola versus the Mets this season. He made 2 starts, went 13 and a third innings, a 4.05 ERA, 15 strikeouts, a 0.900 whip. So pretty good. 204, 235, 347 triple slash for a 582 OPS in 51 plate appearances versus the Mets this season. So the ERA isn't great, but the whip is good, and the triple slash and the OPS is very good. You'll take that all day long and twice on Sunday. Then the lineup for the Mets versus Aaron Nola in their careers: shortstop Francisco Lindor, 7 for 33, 2 extra base hits, 8 strikeouts, 1 walk, a 212, 278, 273 triple slash. So Aaron Nola has been successful against Francisco Lindor, and that's not something we're really going to see against the rest of the lineup, at least in the regular season. Third baseman Mark Vientos, the Philly killer this postseason, 1 for 3, no extra base hits, 1 strikeout, no walks, 333s across the board for Vientos. He's the guy you got to worry about this postseason. He has been the Philly killer so far, and I said it on the national pod yesterday, first pitch with Christian Rao. I was on there filling in for Lindsey Crosby, that Mark Vientos has shown in this postseason that he is very much capable of being the Mets' best hitter, and that it's very scary going forward for the Phillies and the rest of the National League East Division because of how good he has been in this postseason. It's way too small of a sample size to give a definitive assessment on a player, but he was also good in the regular season. So it's going to be, and he's 24, 25, so he's still got a long way to go in his development, and as good as he is already, it's not very promising for the National League East Division outside of the New York Mets. Left field, Brandon Nimmo, 13 for 52 against Nola in his career, 3 extra base hits, 19 strikeouts, 12 walks. Brandon Nimmo has faced Aaron Nola more than anybody else in the Mets lineup, and Nimmo has a 250, 391, 404 triple slash against Nola. So both guys have had success against each other. Nola struck out Nimmo 19 times in 64 plate appearances at least, not counting any hit by pitches. So 19 out of 64 is a pretty good strikeout rate, but Nimmo has also gotten on base and gotten hits at a good rate. So again, both guys have had success against each other. That'll be a pretty fun matchup to see who can come out ahead. Aaron Nola turns it to another level in the postseason, but Brandon Nimmo has been really good this postseason, so we'll have to wait and see. First baseman Pete Alonso, 16 for 50, 8 extra base hits, 14 strikeouts, 4 walks, 320, 370, 680 triple slash. Second baseman Jose Iglesias, 4 for 9, 1 extra base hit, no strikeouts, no walks, 444, 444, 556 triple slash. DH Jesse Winker, 4 for 24, 1 extra base hit, 2 strikeouts, 2 walks, 167, 231, 292. Triple slash. So Aaron Nola has the upper hand there. Right field, Starling Marte, 11 for 31, 3 extra base hits, 9 strikeouts, no walks, 355, 355, 516. Center fielder Tyrone Taylor, surprisingly enough, has been very good against Nola in a small sample size, 4 for 10, 2 extra base hits, 1 strikeout, 1 walk, 400, 500, 600 triple slash. You always want your batters to have 300, 400, 500 triple slash. He's got as far as the whole season, obviously not against one specific pitcher, but Tyrone Taylor has a 400, 500, 600 triple slash against Aaron Nola. I thought that was interesting. And finally, catching Francisco Alvarez, 1 for 2, 1 extra base hit, no strikeouts, no walks, 500, 500, 2,000 triple slash. A very, very, very small sample size. Looks like only one game against Aaron Nola, which is crazy how that's worked out. But he's got a home run in out of those 2 plate appearances against Aaron Nola. So we'll see what he can do today. Too small of a sample size to really say whether or not he can be good against Aaron Nola at the plate. Rob Thompson did say that Ranger Suarez will start Game 4 regardless of Game 3's outcome. Again, probably a questionable decision. Game 4 is tomorrow, Wednesday. Zach Wheeler started on Saturday and went 7 innings scoreless, 1 hit, 3 or 4 walks, 9 strikeouts, 30 whiffs. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, that's 3 days rest between. I probably would start Zach Wheeler tomorrow if the Phillies do lose this game, because it is a must-win game if the Phillies lose today, because if the Phillies lose today and tomorrow, the Phillies are out of the playoffs. So, yes, Ranger Suarez has been good in the postseason throughout his career so far, but he has not pitched in this postseason, and he was not good down the stretch for the Phillies, dealing with back soreness and fatigue and other issues that were swept under the rug probably. But you really just can't come out and definitively say that Ranger Suarez is going to start Game 4 regardless of the outcome of Game 3. You need to wait and see what happens in Game 3. Yes, Ranger Suarez was penciled in as your Game 4 starter before the postseason even started, but I don't know, man. If the Phillies lose today and then can still start Ranger Suarez tomorrow and he does not have a good outing, then you really got to start looking at moving off Rob Thompson. Skip Schumacher's out there. Go get Skip Schumacher. He is much more of a better manager. He is more analytically driven, and he is far and away the better option, and he is available as a manager. And if the Phillies lose this postseason, if the Phillies don't get out of the division series, then you got to look at getting off Rob Thompson, because he's not a good manager. He's just not. I had a whole podcast about it on the instant reaction to Game 1. So if you want to hear more on that, go listen to that. But Rob Thompson is just not a good manager. He has shown it time and time again. But who knows? We'll see. Hopefully the Phillies can win today. Aaron Nola on the mound. Very, very good shot at it with Aaron Nola versus Sean Manaea. So it seems like it is a very winnable game for the Phillies on paper, and we will see if they play that way when the first pitch is thrown tonight. But hopefully I can have an instant reaction episode. I'll have to speak with my wife. It is World of Warcraft raid night, so I might have to make a deal with her. We'll have to see how long the game goes, but we will see. Thank you for joining us today on this preview of Game 3 with the Phillies and the Mets here on the Philly Faithful Podcast, your one-stop shop for daily news, updates, and opinions on your Philadelphia Phillies. I've been Troy Brock. Once again, you can find me on Twitter at Troy B Baseball. You can find the show on Twitter at Philly Faith Pod, spelled just like the podcast. If you are listening on Spotify or iTunes, make sure you give us that 5-star rating so the show can be pushed out to more Phillies fans just like you. But if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you leave a like, leave a comment, and hit that subscribe button so you can be notified when more episodes just like this one go live. And until that next episode goes live, I've been Troy. You've been awesome. Peace, love, and rock and roll. I'm out. Bye.